Hello everyone, welcome to Raising Vibrations. You're with Simon today, and in today's video we're going to be looking at the full moon in Virgo, and this is for the 9th of March 2020, and we're going to be looking at the essence of what is essentially taking place for us, cosmically speaking. And I'm really excited to be talking about this full moon, to be honest. There's a lot that has been taking place for us collectively. There is a tremendous amount of things floating around on the internet and literally in the world itself around a virus. People's attention is being pulled in different directions. And what I find really fascinating about the current stage at the moment is, with all of this energy in the Capricorn, Pisces, Taurus element, we're seeing where lots of structures are being exposed, and there's a tremendous amount of vulnerability within these structures. Okay. And I was reading a post by somebody the other day, and I found it really fascinating because they were pointing out how these structures are being exposed through their vulnerabilities, and how these dynamics are becoming illuminated within our awareness through the pressure. So there's a lot of pressure, everything in Capricorn, on structures, on the integrity of our societal way in which we have put ourselves together as a human race, and what we consider to be valuable or not, as an example. And how we are witnessing lots of these structures really being pressed, and how we deal with it. How are we interacting with it? And I would say probably for the vast majority of us, disassociation is a byproduct, because it's just too overwhelming in that way. So, yeah, I hope that you are doing okay at the moment. I sincerely hope that you are finding yourself, watching this full moon video in a state where life is at some point offering what this image is actually reflecting, and that is the potential for new life and for new growth. And the reason why I actually love the image of the light bulb over the life itself, as in life itself, is that life itself is very fragile. And if you really, really look into this imagery over here, it speaks to me and the nature of reality in so many ways. It's unbelievable. For instance, the one thing I want to highlight here is the frailty. That life has this interesting polarity where it's very resilient. And the archetype of Capricorn is about resilience. So the question at this time is, where are you resilient in your life? Where can you meet the demands and the pressures of life? And while at the same time being honest and open about where the vulnerabilities exist too. Cancer. North Node in Cancer. So the vulnerabilities that are being highlighted to us in our life at the moment are there for us to witness, where we can establish protection. Light bulb over life. For instance, when you see a baby that's just been born and you had to do something incredibly bizarre, like take the baby away from the parents and put it in some random place just to fend for itself, you know that the likelihood not only is for the baby to not survive, but also the chaos of madness that will naturally take place afterwards as well, or during the process. We don't see those things as normal and natural, because we know inherently within our sort of human condition that life is very fragile. And so it requires a tremendous amount of attention, a tremendous amount of protection. And I see this light bulb protecting life over here because we are the life inside of it. And at the moment, it feels like that all of the people that we entrust to make sure that we're going to be okay, while at the same time we've got that protection around us, it's also made out of glass, which is frail itself. And so how do we put our faith in the people, the authorities themselves, to protect us from the harsh world, which is around the imagery? Look at the relationship over here to these plants that have come to the completion cycle. Life is a cyclical process. And the cyclical process is always constantly interfacing between things that are mutating and are coming to close, and things that are being regenerated and are being reborn. So the harshness of the life outside of here is the reality that we are finite within our physical vessel, but we are infinite within our conscious state. And we live in a current time at the moment with so much Capricorn energy that we're very aware of this finiteness. So going through the internet at the moment and all the different realities that exist, and our relationship to, say, for instance, this thing called the coronavirus. Now, just by saying that itself brings up all of your personal experiences. And I don't need to go into that process over there because that's not the focus of the conversation. It's the essence of that. Just a couple of months ago in January, Australia was on fire in a specific place. And regardless of us sitting in a different part of the world and observing that, people that were in that experience itself were very aware of the finiteness of life, the fragileness of life. You can think about all of the life itself that was existing, that was being consumed by the flames themselves, like the plants and the animals and the insects and all those things. They didn't have a choice. It wasn't like they would be able to call their fire brigade. So we've established this protection mechanism because of the realization of the frailty of life. And yet, while at the same time, we're also very aware that as much as that protection mechanism is there, it can also be something that can fail us. And so this picture speaks to me in so many ways, because it not only illustrates and highlights that outside of this bubble, we also have an entire realization that a societal structure within the context of our world has collapsed. The old is no longer with us anymore. It's like that is decayed. We're in a state of decay, while at the same time, we are also very, very deeply infused with new energetic life that is wanting to burst through us, that is open to us. And we need to nurture that. We need to look after that. We need to protect that. And we're always, always consistently aware of the transparency that the light bulb offers between life and death. Life and death. And even so far as to observe the ground that's here. The ground that's here, that's Earth itself, right? We're on this rock, as it were. And the blurredness in the background speaks to the essence of, can you truly, truly, truly step into the experience of feeling deep space with absolute clarity? Like, we have telescopes as an example that can look into deep space, but to conceptualize it and for the mind to literally try to make sense of the distance that the Earth is to the sun and how the solar system works and all these things, like, they're all intellectual understandings in that sense, but the actual experience itself feels so in the distance and blurred out. How many times a day do you talk about your relationship to the nebula structure in sector Z484? We don't. Our attention is the most immediate thing in front of us. What we have shaped and defined as life. What is the shell? What is the light bulb that we have created around Earth, around a little Earth life experience? So, as we step into looking at the chart over here, the interesting thing that I observe with this Virgo full moon is lots of things like Neptune in a new phase to the sun. Mercury is about to go direct. It's actually stationary at the moment. This will be on the 9th, of course, of March. And on the 10th of March, it will go direct. This is 29 degrees Aquarius, right? That Aquarius essence, the Aquarius archetype, is always consistently reminding us of, like when we're interfacing with the objective world, right? To objectify this process, to see ourselves outside of ourselves in a way, to see us as a human race for what we are and what is life itself. And yet that Neptune Sun conjunction speaks to the image of the life itself, that it's new. It's like we're infused with new meaning. We're infused with the spirit of a new way of experiencing ourselves, while simultaneously also aware of the deeper experience of Neptune's transit through Pisces, which is the consistent decay and fading away of the old, until eventually it will no longer be here anymore. And then you have a look over here, there's another new phase angle that's in relationship to Uranus and Venus. And it feels like with that Venus-Uranus conjunction, I mean, on the 8th of March and on the 7th of March, we're going to have that Uranus-Venus conjunction. Sudden shocks within our value system that wake us up and say, hey, like, did you think that life was just this kind of thing where we needed to take, and this is no disrespect, but like, is the meaning of life rooted in our narcissistic sense of self and the accumulation of success defined by humanity's perceptions of what it values? Or is it deeply rooted in this undercurrent of realization that your life has a deeper process to it, and that there's a finite time in which your biology will mature from the age of being a baby up until the point where, say, for instance, your grandmother is at the moment, or you are at this point in time of your life? You know, the aging process, and how your life has spanned over that, and what are the meanings and the conclusions and the experiences you've had throughout your life. What will you take away from this experience that is existing in the ether, as in consciousness becoming the infinite while living in the finite? What is your values? What do you prioritize? So this dynamic between Venus and the South Node here, Venus is, of course, sitting at 5 degrees Taurus, and it connects to the 5-degree South Node over there. You know, there's a lot of information around how the fracturing and the reorientation and the acceleration of humanity's essential needs will come into contact with the way that we've defined ourselves in the past, and we'll be faced with this interesting realization between the plant that is here, that's sitting here on the imagery over here, which is the plant that is decayed. The leaves have lived their life. The essence, Neptune, that was once in the vibrant life that made it green, is no longer there anymore. So if you ever wanted to understand Pluto and Neptune in the chart, observe the relationship between this plant structure here, which of course my picture's behind it. Let me just take away my face. That is Neptune and Pluto in relationship to the past. And that is Neptune and Pluto in relationship to the future, meaning that the color is the essence of Neptune that permeates the nature of desire, which is life itself, Pluto. And yet at one point there was desire and life in there, but that has run its course. The finiteness of that time frame is complete. And so we are in this beautiful phase, this dynamic between stepping out of the old and whatever represented that self-image, right? North Node in Cancer, the self-image that once was the nourishing factor. That plant was once nourished by life. It once had color. It once had vibrancy. It once had attraction. But now, as that cycle has completed itself, we say goodbye to that process as it regenerates and returns back to the essence of the Great Mother, the source of everything. And life springs out in a different place. And so while at the same time we have this dynamic of the hysteria of life being at the edge of something, we're also at the same time deeply connected to the potential and the hope, Pandora, hope. Hope that through all of the diseases, all of the chaos, all of the traumas, that there is still hope rooted in humanity. The potential, the possibility for new life. And it is our responsibility as we reshape and restructure and reorganize our value structures in accordance with what that will be to sustain that life. That's the prerogative. That's the space. That's the place. So all of those symbols in Capricorn over there are pushing down and saying, here's where your vulnerability is. Here's where there needs to be more protection. Here's there needs to be more maturity. And you do that through the interaction and the realization of values that are sustainable, that support the process of hope. When a baby comes into the world, there is this feeling of hope that the new generation that is unconditioned, that could take away the trials and tribulations of the world. How many of you in hope that Bernie Sanders, for instance, becomes president? How many of you in hope that the new generation of Pluto and Sagittarius can overthrow the government and infect the policies of climate change, as an example? How many of you hope the illusion that something will change? And we're in a state right now where that frailty between the possibility of the old remaining and the new dying out, that Virgo process, the axis of Pisces and Virgo, it's the process of Christ consciousness. It's the way that we digest into the physical world the essence of new meaning. So before I end off today's conversation here, I just want to show you the chart of just before the new moon that happens in Aries. And I'll just pull it up over there for us. And this is the chart where the moon is about to make this is the new moon in Aries. And of course it will sit at, let's have a look over here. Sit at 3 degrees, 4 degrees Aries. It's just conjunct Chiron, as we know. Pluto and Mars will be in a new phase relationship to each other. Mercury will now be back in Pisces, but this time in its direct form. There'll be a beautiful trine with Venus against Jupiter now. Remember, there was a square when we had the new moon in Pisces. Jupiter and Venus were squaring each other. And by the time that the new moon in Aries manifests itself, Jupiter and Venus will be in a trine to each other. We'll have Pluto new phase. So there's a continuation process of the energy pushing the new dynamics into play. So whatever projects you have now that you want to start, anything that you feel that there's this new world that's going to be emerging for you probably around about the 12th of March, that's the time where this new life will start to emerge for us. So we've got a cool couple of weeks ahead of us in terms of energy regrowing something. And the task that is the challenge for us is to step into where we can be more protective, where we can show up for ourselves, where we can nurture and support the frailty of that process. So the new hope can grow and permeate into a beautiful blossoming actual reality. Okay. Right, my friends, thanks very much for letting me talk to you about this new moon or this full moon in Virgo. For those of you that would like to have astrology readings with myself or Jen, enroll in our astrology school, anything you want to do to working with us, I'll post the link to our website over there. We've been having lots of amazing experiences with clients that are coming through and trying to process their material at the moment. So we definitely help you try to make sense of the world through the language of EA and human design. So if you feel that this is an opportunity for you to process your chart, process your life in that sense, we're at our desk 24/7 and we're here to help, okay? All right, everybody, have a wonderful day. Take care. Bye-bye.